Ja, herzlich willkommen zu einer neuen Ausgabe SI-Interview und bei mir habe ich heute ein sehr spannendes Interview. Es geht um Sernova. Ich habe den Herrn Dr. Philip Toleikis bei mir. Er ist der CEO und President von der Firma. Wir haben wir haben im Juni als Interview gehabt, der mittlerweile schon 8 Monate aus. Ich habe einen Conflict of Interest. Ich bin Aktionär und die Aktie ist im letzten Jahr explodiert. Zum Glück habe ich es vorher schon gehabt. Das war einer der Best Performance Stocks, die ich letztes Jahr gehabt habe. Und jetzt geht es darum, und das ist immer bei Biotech-Unternehmen so oder in diesem Area so, dass wir dazwischen auch Phasen haben, wo halt natürlich gearbeitet wird und diese Studien dauern natürlich gefühlt für unsere Investoren immer Ewigkeiten, aber es sind einfach notwendig. Aber sie haben echt ein paar Killer-Applications, die mir wirklich extrem gut gefallen und deswegen habe ich kein Stück von meinen verkauft und halte meine Stücke, die ich damals gehabt habe, jetzt immer noch. Ja, thank you, Philip, for your time. And as I said in my German introduction, it's a follow-up interview. And I have a conflict of interest. I'm a shareholder. And last year it was an unbelievable year from the share price standpoint. You run, I think it was a 10-bagger in January. You're going up like crazy. Since then, it's a little bit more quieter. Still, we have these hiccups, especially when you're coming up with some results. Like in January, we have a nice run in January from 125 to 225. But this is, I think, a natural in the business. It's driven by results from your studies. But in general, I must say you have a very interesting niche, and maybe we can talk a little bit deeper in that. But before we talk a little about the new results from the studies, is last time we talked also that you maybe look for uplisting on Nasdaq or TSX. So you are still trading on the TSX Venture, I think, or
right.
Yeah. And so how the uplisting look like?
Yeah, so our plans are to be uplisting on the TSX Big Board exchange. Those plans are well underway, and we're expecting to be on the Big Board within the quarter, if not less. We have already had our meeting with the Toronto Exchange. We meet all of the qualifications, and we're just getting everything all set up and ready for filing, etc.
Mm-hmm.
So that's going full steam ahead, and we should be transitioning in the near distant future to the Toronto Exchange. In terms of Nasdaq, we're a bit early for Nasdaq right now, but we're working on a number of business deals, and we get those done, we significantly elevate the valuation of the company as we're going forward, and then we're looking at the potential to transition to Nasdaq within approximately a year or so.
Mm-hmm.
But we want to make sure that the valuation of the company is significantly higher before we do that.
Mm-hmm. Then it's for sure Nasdaq, you get really a valuation for your company. The problem is always, and we have the same problem here in Europe, that you get really a valuation for an interesting company on the Nasdaq, especially in your area. Then there are the specialists, the market guys. They really know the area and can understand a little bit better the value, and they have also the money what flows in, and then they drive the share price really up.
Exactly. So part of what we've been doing, we've been working with our life science advisor team in New York that we hired just a number of months ago, and we have been speaking to quite a number of higher level bankers, family offices, institutional groups, so that this takes time. So it's a matter of preparing, getting the story out about Sernova. And I can tell you that the institutional investors and the higher level bankers are extremely interested in Sernova's story, because we have been successful with our technology, whereas a number of our competitors have had to take steps back and start over again. It's kind of thing, and Sernova's moving along. And I think they're very, very excited about the plan that we have taken to get to various clinical trials and products, and that we are very, very de-risked from that perspective.
Mm-hmm. So. Yeah, that your product is very interesting. Catch me, really. That's was unbelievable. That is the cell pouch what you put under the skin, and they produce then, for example, insulin that you don't need every day, that you need insulin, and you have one a guy or a person that live without any insulin, but he put it in your, for how long now?
Yeah, so I can talk about that. So interestingly, we had our first patient become insulin independent. So this particular patient has had type 1 diabetes for over 47 years. They've taken over 20,000 insulin injections. They have been not only taking insulin injections with a needle, but they've also been on the pump. They've talked about that they've been in doctor's offices multiple times. And this patient has now been insulin independent which means that they're no longer taking any injectable insulin. And this is after treatment with our technologies. And they have been insulin free for over 22 months. And so that is really, really important, because it's not only showing that our technologies are working and the cells are surviving and producing insulin, but it's also showing that we're getting this beneficial effect in the patient longer term. And the longer term that we get this benefit, the more that we have the ability to charge for this product, and it's going to become, a stronger and stronger product as we're going forward. We now also have just recently announced about 4 weeks ago that we have a second patient who has become insulin independent. And this patient has now been insulin independent for almost 4 months right now. It's the same sort of thing, but this patient's been very interesting because their diabetes has been very, very unstable to begin with. And now they have normal blood sugar levels. They have normal hemoglobin A1C. I mean, normal like a non-diabetic person. And they have eliminated their hypoglycemia unaware events. So this is having 2 patients that are now insulin independent with the technology is really very, very important, because it shows that we can take different patients with different levels of severity of diabetes and be able to treat them and be able to take them off of insulin. So, the company is still progressing with our technologies, and our goal here is to have, what we call a functional cure for all patients going forward. But to have our first 2 patients insulin independent for these periods of time is really important. And also, I believe it's a first in the world for a device technology that is placed under the skin.
One little question. This cell pouch system, can we understand it that this cell pouch system do the same job what the pancreas doing in the body? So the pancreas is not working in the right way, so the cell pouch take over this function and do the job for the body. Is it the short thing? So that brings me to the point diabetes is really a problem in the world. So many people have diabetes. So do you? And I know exactly all in this industry, it takes very long. Then the FDA and all the regulations need many data. Is it possible that you get a kind of fast your fast traction, or I think what is called, that you can go in
fast track status?
Fast track status, that you get quicker to the market.
Yeah, so there are a couple of points. One is that as we accumulate our data, then the plans are going to be to go to FDA and see if we can get some of these fast track statuses. We also are looking at something similar. Europe has a similar type of approach to be able to get a fast track status. So what we need to do is accumulate more data on additional patients. And the plan is then to meet with the FDA and have discussions with them, not only about that, but also in terms of our next phase study that was called the pivotal study. So, importantly, we want to really show that we have very, very solid data. Then we talk to the FDA, and what's happening right now is that they're building a lot of confidence in our technologies and in the fact that we are getting insulin in the bloodstream, and we're seeing a good safety profile also, which is really important. So there are a number of different programs that we can apply for as the company's going forward, and we accumulate more data that can help us speed our product to the clinic.
But what I find is interesting for me when I, for example, be Novo Nordisk, one of the biggest insulin producer in the world, then I get a little bit nervous when I see your data. You see some traction from these guys that maybe they're coming to you when you present your data and so on and say, hey, very interesting to in discussion with them, or?
Yeah, so I can talk about that. So if you look in the field of type 1 diabetes, it's really clear to all industry partners as well as the Juvenile Diabetes Foundation that insulin, that treatment of type 1 diabetes is going to a cell therapy approach, and no one is going to be able to stop that. And in reality, what we're finding is that we have a number of global pharmaceutical collaborations, both around the type 1 cell therapy diabetes approach, but also for other cell therapy approaches. If you think about what's happening with type 1 diabetes, we're going from taking insulin injections on a daily basis and having the patient still getting all the side effects of the disease, which are amputations, eye disease, kidney disease, all of these kind of things, moving towards having what we call a functional cure with the cell therapy approach. So what we have found in our pharmaceutical collaborations is that we have been able to also take stem cell derived technologies that they have, combine them with Sernova's technologies, and been able to get long-term insulin independence in our preclinical models. So we know that all of the major pharmaceutical companies who are looking at type 1 diabetes in the future are going to be moving away from insulin and going towards a cell therapy approach. And this is one of the reasons why Sernova is in a perfect position right now, because not only do we have good data from our current trial using the human donor islets, but as we collaborate and bring in a stem cell derived technology, and this is with pharmaceutical companies, then we have the opportunity to be able to treat millions of patients. So we are very, very aggressively moving forward with discussions to be able to get access to a stem cell derived technology for type 1 diabetes. And this is something that the pharmaceutical companies are very, very interested in because it's whoever moves this technology forward it's going to be a major game changer. And I believe it's going to be the biggest or one of the biggest, if not the biggest pharmaceutical market. What is important is if you can imagine having any of these chronic diseases and going from taking insulin injections every day to not having to take insulin anymore, and your body just automatically starts making insulin again, then these patients are looking forward to a functional cure. What is also important from the pharmaceutical industry is that with the cell therapy approach, we already know that you can start reducing the side effects of the disease. And we have done a payer or insurance company study whereby they've looked at our data and what we could have going forward, and have been able to estimate that they would be willing to pay between $100,000 and $200,000 US dollars per treatment for these patients. So, the cost for the treatment is going to go up, but the benefit to the healthcare system is going to also get much, much better, as the patients are not going to have, we believe, all of the side effects associated with having their sugar levels going up and down on a constant basis. So I think from the pharmaceutical industry side, they are very, very excited about the potential for a cell therapy approach for the type 1 diabetes. And what companies are looking for is what we call the total regenerative medicine solution. And that is what Sernova has with our 3 technologies. We're hoping to get in the stem cell derived technology, which can provide the unlimited supply of cells. We already have the cell pouch, which is where the cells are being placed, the organ-like environment. And then we've already licensed in our conformal coating technology to be able to work towards eliminating the need for the anti-rejection medications. So as we're going forward, what our goal is to be able to have a product that we can place into all patients with type 1 diabetes that is a very, very safe product that can provide long-term efficacy and being the total solution. This is what pharma companies are also very interested in having going forward.
Mm-hmm. But you cannot only use your cell pouch system for diabetes 1. You can use it also for other
other diseases.
Yeah,
right.
For sure.
So there's 2 parts of this. One is we're focused on type 1 diabetes and right now, but we believe that there are about 30% of the type 2 diabetic patients that end up on insulin injections. And we believe going forward that there's a potential for our technologies with our stem cell approach to be able to help treat these patients too and stabilize them. So the market for type 1 diabetes is enormous. And the market for type 2 diabetes is much, much, much bigger. So there's a potential, we believe, as we're going forward, to be able to shift into that area too. The other thing that's really important is that Sernova's technologies are a platform technology. So we actually worked with a team of academic investigators using the Horizon 2020 grant that we achieved some time ago to be able to develop a product for rare diseases such as hemophilia A. So in this particular situation, we have shown with our European partners that we've been able to take a blood sample from the patient that has hemophilia A, which is a bleeding disorder. And these patients are missing a factor called factor VIII. So we've been able to take samples of blood, isolate a certain cell type, correct the gene for factor VIII in those cells, and we put those cells in our pouch. And we've been able to recover the function of bleeding in preclinical models. So this is something that, this is a rare orphan status disease that we're interested in looking at a cell therapy approach for and moving forward with that technology. We also are the first company, or believe we're the first company in the world, to be working with patients that have thyroid disease. And what we're focusing on is the 150,000 patients a year in North America alone that are having their thyroid gland removed completely. And you can think of your thyroid gland as really being like the engine in your car. It controls how much energy you have. Patients that have their thyroid gland removed end up becoming extremely obese. They're very depressed and they're very, very lethargic. So they don't have a lot of energy. And we have done preclinical studies and just published a journal article whereby we're able to take from the patients that are having their thyroid gland removed, we're able to take the healthy tissue that is left and place it into the cell pouch. And we've shown in preclinical models that we can actually recover the function of thyroid hormones going into the bloodstream. Mm-hmm. And thyroid hormones are very similar to insulin in the sense is that there is a feedback loop with the brain that controls your thyroid hormones. And the goal is for us to be able to bring these patients back to a normal functional thyroid level. And our plan is now to have our second clinical program in thyroid disease that we will be. We're looking forward to getting into the clinic late 2022, early 2023. So this will give Sernova a second clinical program that will even further de-risk the company. So we see, because we're the only company moving into the clinic in this area, we see this as a huge potential for Sernova. So if we think about 150,000 patients a year just in North America alone, it'll probably be a similar number in Europe that are having their thyroid glands removed. And then Sernova will have the technology to be able to go in, take the patient's healthy tissue, put it into the device, and then try to recover the function of the thyroid gland. The patient will not require any anti-rejection medications or anything like that. So we see it as a relatively simpler regulatory path than other cell therapy type products, and with the potential of having that be approved in a more rapid period of time than some of the other cell therapy indications that people are looking at.
Okay, research studies cost normally a lot of money. So do you have partners here, or you finance this all out of your own pocket?
Yeah, so Sernova, we have already done. We've had a number of different government grants, such as the Horizon 2020 grant, and that enabled us to do all of our preclinical work to be able to show proof of concept for the hemophilia product, right? So that was a great benefit working with the European Union to be able to do that. We've also had millions of dollars in non-dilutive grant funding from Canada, whereby we've been able to do all of our earlier preclinical diabetes studies to be able to move the product from preclinical into the clinic. We do have funding from the Juvenile Diabetes Foundation that is helping to fund our current clinical trial, our phase 1/2 clinical trial in the United States. So we do get sources of non-dilutive funding at the same time. I can say, assuming that we do a deal with a pharmaceutical company, we would anticipate that, for stem cell derived technology, we would anticipate that agreement would come with some shared funding in terms of developing that product to the clinic. So, as we're developing our pharmaceutical collaborations and deals going forward, then the anticipation is that we would be partners and would be sharing in the costs of those trials going forward.
Do you working already on this kind of relationship?
Yes. So with all of our pharmaceutical collaborations, you typically start off with preclinical work, whereby we will combine our device and their therapeutic cells, and if those technologies prove out to work in a positive way, then the goal is then to work together on a partnership of some sort, right? So we have a number of these that are in different stages of development that we're working on. And obviously, if we are able to bring in an unlimited supply of cells for type 1 diabetes, then I see that as a very, very significant game changer for the company. And this is something that we're very actively working on right now.
So coming to for this year, what an investor can expect this year from the news flow? From which side we will see some news?
Yeah, so what I see is, the company is very actively working on uplisting to the Toronto Big Board. I think this will be really important to enable us to allow additional investors, more sophisticated investors, institutional groups, family offices to be able to get into the stock. We're looking at, increasing the liquidity of the company. I think that upgrade will really put us out onto the playing field. We're also working on bringing in a worldwide exclusive license for a stem cell derived technology for type 1 diabetes. So that we get that agreement in place, and that is going to put us really out front and center with the big pharma companies in terms of competing, for this for the millions of patients that are out there. And Sernova, at this point of time, if we get this in, we will have the complete regenerative medicine product that we've been looking for, which will include the local immune protection, the cell pouch, and the unlimited supply of cells. So we see that as a huge, huge game changer for the company and a valuation driver. As an example, we know that one of our compatriots called Sema, their product that was a stem cell technology was bought by Vertex for approximately $1 billion US. So this is how this kind of product is being valued out there from a business development perspective. You know, and as we're going forward, you know, we see additional, because we do have additional collaborations that are in different stages of development. There's also the potential to do deals with some of the other pharma companies for other indications that we have not even discussed, that are still confidential yet. So I see Sernova in a really, really positive light right now. There's a huge amount of interest in the company by institutional investors. We've now reached over $400 million market cap Canadian, which shows that we are clearly a going concern. The company is growing in terms of our clinical staff right now and our preclinical, and we have a huge amount of respect out in the pharmaceutical industry. So I think, you know, as we're going forward, we're going to be really out on the US and European playing field a lot more. And the other part of it is we anticipate that even from our current clinical trial, we're expecting some additional data to be coming out. We're looking forward to announcing more information on how our local immune protection conformal coating is coming along with our collaboration at the University of Miami. And as we're moving forward towards the end of the year, we're looking towards talking more about updating everyone on the progress towards starting a new clinical indication on our thyroid disease. So there's a lot going on in the background.
So, busy year.
We'll be thrilled at.
A busy year.
It's very busy.
Great. Yeah, thank you. I think it was a great update. And I hope I can remember everything what we talked in the last half an hour, so that I don't forget something. So, es war ein wirklich sensationelles Update. Sie wissen, es geht darum, dass in diese Zelltaschen sozusagen Zellen eingebaut werden, Stammzellen auch eingebaut werden, die dann die Funktionen von zum Beispiel bei Diabetes, der Bauchspeicheldrüse übernehmen. Und es gibt schon die ersten Patienten, also ein Patient, der ist jetzt schon seit 22 Monaten, musste kein Insulin mehr spritzen. Ein anderer Patient, der muss seit 4 Monaten kein Insulin mehr spritzen. Und das ist natürlich extrem, also das ist sensationell. Das ist eine Heilung quasi, weil auch die Nebeneffekte der Insulinspritzen und so weiter, beziehungsweise dass die Bauchspeicheldrüse das Insulin nicht mehr richtig produziert, werden damit auch dramatisch minimiert. Und das ist eigentlich der Bringer schlechthin. Es geht nicht nur um Diabetes 1, sondern es ist auch, dass viele von der Diabetes 2 Typen Insulin spritzen müssen. Und das ist natürlich ein Gamechanger. Aber diese Zellpouches kann man nicht nur für dieses verwenden. Sie haben momentan 3 Typen. Also das eine ist Diabetes 1, dann Hämophilia, das ist eigentlich eine Bluterkrankheit, das heißt Blutgerinnung, die stoppt nicht mehr. Sie wissen, Bluter, die haben sie schon, da haben sie 2020 Horizon von der EU bekommen, Granting, und also da sind sie gefördert worden, Horizon 2020. Und da sind sie da weitergekommen, und sie wollen auch bei der Schilddrüse, das ist eine Nebenkrankheit auch, aber jedes Jahr werden allein in Nordamerika 150.000 Patienten die Schilddrüse entfernt, beziehungsweise große Teile entfernt, und die können auch über dieses Zellpouch-System auch wieder zum normalen Leben zurückfinden, also großteils, denn die sind normalerweise sehr depressiv, weil die Schilddrüse einfach der Treiber ist, der Motor, ja, das beschrieben wird, der Motor, der auch den Takt gibt, ob der Patient gut also ob er sich wohlfühlt, ob er Energie hat und so weiter. Und wenn das natürlich fehlt, dann ist das einfach, oder Unterfunktion der Kasse ist, dann ist das ein Problem. Das können Sie mit Ihrem Cell-Pouch-System sehr gut auch machen. Das soll Ende des Jahres, Anfang nächstes Jahr auch in die klinische Studie übergeführt werden. Und damit haben wir schon 2 Standbeine. Aber das Thema ist, und das habe ich auch immer angesprochen, eigentlich ist das Thema, wenn die Leute das sehen, dass das funktioniert, dass das mit Stammzellen funktioniert, dann ist die früher oder später ganz klar, dass die Firma übernommen wird. Denn das ist eine echte Heilung dieser Krankheit. Und diese Heilung dieser Krankheit, ich meine, das ist ein Wahnsinn. Das ist ein Wahnsinnsdurchbruch. Und ich habe auch gefragt, ob die Möglichkeit besteht, dass wir Fast Track kriegen, also ein beschleunigtes Zulassungsverfahren. Sie sammeln alle Daten, werden mit der FDA besprechen. In Europa gibt es ein ähnliches Verfahren, denn das wäre natürlich der Riesendurchbruch und es muss natürlich Safety sein, also es muss sicher sein und es muss wirken. Und wenn beide Sachen eigentlich zusammenkommen, dann wird es zu einer beschleunigten Verfahren kommen, da bin ich mir sehr, sehr sicher. Und man sieht auch, dass dieses System nicht nur eben bei Diabetes verwendet werden kann oder bei der Schilddrüse verwendet kann oder bei der Hämophilia, sondern auch, also bei der Bluterkrankheit, sondern es gibt viele andere Möglichkeiten noch. Und was mir gut gefallen hat, ist immer, wenn er irgendwo so geschmunzelt hat, aber sagt, ja, wird der Großer nicht nervös, gibt es da nicht Kooperationen mit denen, hat er immer so ein leichtes Schmunzeln auf die Lippen gehabt. Also da läuft im Hintergrund, glaube ich, irgendwas. Oder er ist sehr weit schon fortgeschritten mit den Gesprächen. Aber das war sehr interessant. Schauen Sie noch das Video nochmal an und schauen Sie noch mal, jedes Mal, wenn es zu dem Thema kriegt er immer so ein Lächeln drauf. Habe ich sehr interessant gefunden. So, und jetzt kommt aber auch noch das Update bezüglich Upgrade, Uplisting an der Börse. Das TSX-Uplisting soll eigentlich in den nächsten Monat passieren. Sie haben alle Daten jetzt geliefert, Sie sprechen jetzt dann noch mit der Börse, was müssen Sie alles noch machen und das sollte eigentlich innerhalb der nächsten 3 Monate, sollte das kein Problem sein. Nasdaq ist ein anderes Thema. Er sagt, sie sind momentan ein bisschen noch zu klein, sie wollen einfach nur Wertzuwachs machen. Er hat sich aber auch da sehr sicher gefühlt, dass er diese Kriterien, die er erreichen will, dass er einfach mehr Markt kapitalisiert hat, dass er einfach einmal wahrscheinlich über eine gewisse Marktkapitalisierung drüber geht und dann möchte er Nasdaq dementsprechend machen. Aber sie sprechen natürlich schon sehr viel mit Family Office dort, mit den richtigen Leuten, sodass die, auch wenn dann ein Uplisting an TSX, dass möglicherweise die dort schon einsteigen. War ein extrem spannendes Update, finde ich. Also ich finde es echt super. Ich werde meine Aktien auf jeden Fall behalten. Vielleicht kaufe ich auch nochmal zu, wenn sie wieder zurückkommt, aber andererseits ist meine Position schon relativ groß und Sie wissen, man sollte eine Diversifizierung im Depot halten. Aber es war ein sensationelles Update, muss ich ehrlicherweise sagen. So, das war es von Sernova am 15. Februar 2022 und ich wünsche noch viel Spaß beim Investieren und wir hören Sie in Zukunft. Tschüss und Papa. Thank you for the update. It was really a great one. I said also in my German introduction, you have always a little bit smile on the face when we talk about valuation and talking about other companies and is there interest there from the industry. It was always a little bit of smile on your face, so I'm really I have also then a smile, I must say.
Yeah, we're very, very excited about this year. We've increased our staff numbers to accommodate for that. And also we're very, very well cashed up. So we've just released our financials. We've got over $28 million in the bank. So things are looking very positive for the company.
Perfect. Yeah, good luck for the year. And thank you for the interview. And hopefully we have time maybe in 6-9 months or when something really happened that we talk again.
Maybe sooner than you think.
Oh, okay. Very good. Very good point.
We'll be in touch.
Okay. Thank you.
So long.
Bye.
Thanks. Bye.